And joining me now is Admiral Joe Sestak, former Democratic congressman from Pennsylvania, who has certainly served this country well. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to be with you, Alex.
Well, we also want to thank you for your service on this Veterans Day. We are now 11 years and 1 month into America's longest war. Is there enough national will and military will to get us to the planned 2014 withdrawal?
Without any question that there is. Look, I honestly believe the president has the right emphasis on withdrawing from Afghanistan, because the real center of gravity for America over this coming century is in the Western Pacific. And this president has actually shifted, for example, 60% of our naval forces to the Western Pacific. Terrorism, in my mind, will be with us for some time, but it's more of a tactical issue where we have to keep finding those who want to do us harm. But you have an emerging superpower in China, which already had several naval conflicts with Vietnam, the Philippines, with Korea and Japan. We need to be there, not in a belligerent way, but as the honest broker, because there are natural resources in the East and the South China Sea that China is trying to claim as interior water, and therefore this is an economic issue. And so I think that this withdrawal has to be done because our true national security is in the Western Pacific.
Let's talk about the unemployment rate here at home for post-9/11 veterans. It is 10%. For women, it's 15.5%,
yes.
And both of those numbers are far too high, sir. So what can we be doing to help our veterans when they return to civilian life?
I'm glad you brought this issue up. In the case of jobs, there's two things. First, Alex, I think it was outrageous that the United States Senate, where there had been men and women there who had voted to spend over $1,000 billion on that war in Afghanistan you just mentioned, as well as Iraq, where it was all put onto our credit card, would not even approve a bill for $1 billion for Job Corps this summer for our veterans. And second, I think you have to look at not just what policies are out there, but how well are they executed. Take Texas. There they hired 25 veterans. And every time a veteran is given his discharge papers, or a Texas veteran applies for unemployment, both those forms with the veteran's contact information is sent to that office of those 25 veterans. They then contact every single Texas veteran with half their office. The other half of the office is getting together all the businesses in Texas, and then they match up in a very grassroots way a veteran who has applied for unemployment or has been discharged with a job there. They are doing it better than almost any other state with the exception of California. So two issues. United States Senate, remember, you voted to send them over there on our credit card. How about just taking care of them at home? And the second one is, make sure you do it in a military way. Very practical, grassroots approach like Texas is doing.
Yeah, very, very well organized, it sounds like to me. There's certainly a lesson to be learned there. How about, can't not discuss this scandal surrounding David Petraeus' resignation. It gets a bit more surprising as the information comes out, but despite all of that, do you think he should have resigned since he is serving such a critical role?
Yes, I think General Petraeus, who is without any questions one of the finest generals of our generation, did the right thing. Because General Petraeus knew what a leader really means in the military. And that is, a leader in the military is given great responsibility and with that authority. But with them both goes accountability. Because he well understood that a leader who places themselves up above accountability will lose the confidence of those he leads. And if you lose that trust, a purposeful group will disintegrate eventually into chaos. I think this aspect of accountability, even though it may seem cruel to those in civilian life, civilian leaders sometimes, it is what is most wanted by the American people and their political leaders. And I think it is wanting today, just like where you began this interview, with those leaders in the United States Senate who aren't willing to be accountable for those men and women who they sent to war and are now coming home, and on a technicality wouldn't give them the benefits that they deserve. I think General Petraeus did the right thing, and the president did the right thing in accepting it. It speaks to accountability, which this nation so well wants.
I want to speak to you about health care, because you were a major advocate of the president's health care overhaul. Now that even Speaker Boehner admits it is the law of the land, how will it be implemented?
Well, I think the biggest issue coming down the pike is, without a question, the establishment by every state of a national health exchange. this is a tremendous benefit for over 20 million Americans who will now be able to have one-stop comparison shopping on all the healthcare plans that are out there in very consumer-friendly terms. 96% of all businesses will also be able to go onto these websites and pick the best plans for them. This is something that those governors who have delayed up until now for establishing it, thinking that the Affordable Care Act would be overturned, have got to get out and about implementing it for the good of the consumer, their people in their state who now can have access to health care plan and can, on this exchange, find out whether they qualify for tax credits. For example, we will have any business, which is about 96% of them, that has less than 25 people qualify for up to 50% of a tax credit. It's going to lower small businesses' cost of health care premiums by 4%. And so even health insurance companies and hospitals and providers want to get their plans out there to the public so that you can have a much more competitive marketplace. They can sell their wares. This competition is going to reduce costs. Good for the consumer of health care, good for the provider, because it's going to decrease costs and increase, I think, our overall health care plan. But the states have got to get out and start doing it for those that delayed it, because they go up 1 January 2014.
All right, Admiral Joe Sestak, we welcome you back anytime to this show. Thank you so much.